There is a child who does not cry loudly, who does not run wildly, who does not call your name even when the room feels too big and their heart feels too small. There is a child who lives like a whisper in a world made of thunder. A child who learned to fold themselves into corners where no one looks. A child who grew invisible long before they grew tall. Invisible children are not born this way. They arrive into the world soft, open, glowing, their little voices bright as morning sun. But somewhere along the way, light meets shadow, hope meets silence. A tiny voice calls out, and no one answers. A small need appears, and no one sees it. So they learn something that should never be learned. My voice does not matter. And the world grows quieter. Some children shrink because they lived in houses where words were weapons, where footsteps meant danger, where silence kept the storm away. Some shrink because someone else took up all the space, the louder sibling, the angrier parent, the child who needed more, so they learned they deserved less. Some shrink because whenever they spoke, someone sighed, someone frowned, someone said, "Not now. Stop that. You're fine. You're too sensitive." And sensitivity became shame, and needs became burdens, and silence became safety. Invisible children become experts, masters of reading rooms, detectives of emotion, tiny guardians of peace. They know the weather in a parent's eyes. They know the temperature of a father's mood. They know the difference between footsteps that mean dinner and footsteps that mean danger. They learn to predict storms before the clouds even gather. They learn to disappear before the thunder begins. And so they grow, quiet, careful, carrying the weight of an entire household's emotions on shoulders never meant for anything heavier than a backpack and a dream. But the child inside, that quiet, trembling soul, is not empty. Invisible does not mean hollow. It means full, full of words unspoken, feelings unseen, questions unanswered, pain unfelt by anyone except themselves. It means holding your breath for years. It means waiting for someone to notice you exist. It means hoping your silence is enough to keep the peace, but not so much that you disappear forever. Inside the invisible child lives a universe of thoughts too loud to speak aloud. They think about everything, everywhere they went wrong, every moment they were too much, every time they dared to take up space, every tiny mistake that echoes like a shout in their mind. They rewrite conversations in their head. They apologize for things no one remembers. They hide tears that no one ever sees. The invisible child does not want attention. They want connection. They want safety. They want someone to say, "I see you. I hear you." You don't have to be quiet to be loved. But the world rarely speaks that gently, so they learn to do everything on their own. Tie their shoes alone, make their breakfast alone, solve their fears alone, cry alone, dream alone. They grow independent not because they're strong, but because no one ever came when they called. Invisible children grow into adults who apologize before speaking, who shrink when someone interrupts, who say, "I'm fine," even when their whole world is on fire inside. Adults who prefer texting because their voice shakes. Adults who need deep rest from things others call simple.
Adults who love too softly, break too quietly, and disappear when they feel like a burden.
And oh, how easily they love, how gently they care, how deeply they understand the unspoken pain of others. They become the listener, the healer, the one who stays up late to comfort someone else, even when no one has ever stayed up for them. They give the very thing they were denied: attention, affection, presence, safety. They give it freely because they know the pain of its absence. But even the quietest heart has limits. Even the strongest silence breaks eventually. Even the invisible child longs to be seen. They long for moments like someone asking how they feel and actually listening, someone noticing their tired eyes, someone hearing the emotion behind their forced smile, someone staying after they say, "I'm okay," someone saying, "You don't have to hide anymore." Healing for the invisible child does not come suddenly. It does not erupt like fireworks in the sky. It comes softly, a slow sunrise after years of night. Healing begins with a feeling they name out loud, a need they allow themselves to have, a boundary they draw even if their hand shakes, a moment of honesty where they choose themselves for the first time. Healing feels like telling someone, "That hurt me," and surviving the silence after. Saying, "I need help," and watching someone actually show up. Crying and not apologizing for it. Speaking and not shrinking afterward. Healing feels like standing in the light after years in the corner, unsteady, vulnerable, but finally visible. To the invisible child still living inside you, listen closely. You were never meant to disappear. You were never meant to swallow your voice. You were never meant to carry the weight of everyone else's storms. You were meant to be heard, to be held, to be understood, to be loved out loud. You do not have to whisper anymore. You do not have to tiptoe. You do not have to hide in corners that were never meant to be your home. Your voice is not a burden. Your needs are not too big. Your heart is not too sensitive. Your presence is not too much. The world is wide, and there is room for you in it. So step forward slowly, gently, as softly as the child you once were, and as bravely as the person you are becoming. Let the world learn your sound. Let the world meet your soul. Let the world feel your presence. Because you are no longer invisible. You never were. You were simply waiting for someone to see you. And now, finally, you see yourself.